Today we're going to talk about Nebraska versus Purdue, and in particular how Nebraska frankly smacked Purdue and what happened in the lead up to it and what allowed them to do it. I talked about in my past video last Sunday how having Zach Edey out of the game is a major negative for Purdue. Some people in the comments disagreed with that, but I think that seems semi-irrational. But we're going to talk about in particular how Nebraska essentially took that same strategy of capitalizing when Edey's out of the game and applied that while he was in the game. We're going to look at them on offense and on defense and what Nebraska did that frankly might be replicatable for. Let's go. All right, the first area we're going to talk about is Purdue on defense, or Purdue on offense. So what did Nebraska do on defense that held Zach Edey to only 10 field goals and shooting 6 of 10 from field goal, which albeit is a really good percentage, but the difference is he usually shoots way higher volume. Purdue usually gets much open shots close to the rim, and he usually shoots with slightly more efficiency as well. Okay, so the main thing that we see from Nebraska is they're going to be super aggressive on Zach Edey, not only with their post player, but also with the help side defense. So as Zach Edey comes down, he gets tagged by this player right here, Tominaga, and then he gets tagged down here in the post as well, allowing the big to recover. And almost at all times, anytime there's a threat for Zach Edey, they are almost essentially putting 2 players there. You can see as this drive happens, there's 3 Nebraska players over there. They're essentially saying you are not going to pass the ball to Zach Edey. You are going to have to move the ball and do something else. And the reason this is so important or so beneficial for Nebraska is because they already play this style anyway. You can see they're doubling the other posts for Purdue as well. And so it kind of already blends into what they were going to do anyway. They just did it with more emphasis for Zach Edey. Second example here, we can see a similar concept. Again, we're being aggressive. Nebraska's denying him. Literally at this point, Nebraska has 2 players on Zach Edey. Simply, number 2, Fletcher Lawyer, who's frankly a pretty good shooter, and they are like, it doesn't matter if he's a good shooter, we are making it so you cannot pass it to Zach Edey. And as it gets reset, even though Zach Edey has a little bit of space when he gets caught here, the reason it's kind of a little bit off for him is because he expects to have immediate double coming. You can see he's a little bit off balance, doesn't turn aggressively into it as he normally would, and is forced to throw the ball away because he thinks help is coming because Nebraska conditioned him that help is constantly coming. Okay, so again, denying the ball early, and here you leave Zach Edey to go double. This is part of their scheme, but you have another defender that loosely at least gets in the way, forces somebody other than Zach Edey to beat you, and then frankly just goes get the ball too. Again, bringing the ball up. Who are we watching? We're watching Zach Edey. How do they play him? They aggressively getting his body on him, forcing him to catch it way outside. If he does catch it, hands up, making it a difficult throw inside. And frankly, I like this head-on pass straight on because it makes it more difficult for Nebraska to trap, but it doesn't matter. They have 4 hands in his face, forcing him to shoot from the logo. It's a foot in front of the free throw line, a little bit of hook shot. Zach Edey shoots it well, but frankly, that's still a shot that you want Zach Edey to be shooting instead of right at the rim. Finally, our last example, exact same concept. As soon as he gets the ball there, he's getting tagged by multiple people. He's got guards in front of him. He's got constant pressure. Nebraska, as soon as he gets the ball, he has 2 people. Feels like he has to get rid of it. And yes, there are open passes, but that is not an easy pass, even as skilled of a passer as Zach Edey is. Skips the ball set. And Nebraska doesn't care. Like, they're going to live with Braden Smith making that shot sometimes and missing that shot sometimes, saying you have to beat us someone other than Zach Edey. And then so in reality, they did sometimes score without Zach Edey. Obviously, they're a good basketball team without Zach Edey. But Nebraska was essentially saying we are willing to live with that. And Purdue shot 40% behind the arc because they were getting these good looks. And Nebraska said we are going to essentially trade off Edey's field goal percentage at the rim for this Braden Smith open 3 on the perimeter. So then looking at the reason that Nebraska chose to essentially say that Zach Edey is not the one that's going to beat us, we can look at the last 2 games that he's played significant minutes. And that'd be Purdue versus Maryland, where Zach Edey played 34 minutes and shot 8 for 13 from close to the rim. And then we can look at Purdue versus Arizona. Arizona's a very good defensive team with a dominant big as well, and Zach Edey still shot 8 for 15 with a lot of shots very close to the rim. So Nebraska was trying to say, we are not going to let you shoot with volume and efficiency, and instead we are going to make the other 4 players on the court prove that they are able to shoot more efficiently than us when we are on offense. And not only that, but we're going to try and use our offense, try and use Zach Edey against them on offense and take him out of his element where he's a great rim protector and prevent that as well, which we'll discuss right now. So the crucial part of Nebraska on offense versus Purdue is a man by the name of Mast. Mast is the Nebraska center, quote-unquote center. Okay? The reason Mast is so important is he shoots the three-pointer with at least decent efficiency. The very first possession Nebraska ran, they ran to get the ball in the middle, and what did? They went to set an off-ball screen on Zach Edey, specifically on Mast, because they know Zach Edey is Purdue's rim protector. Their goal was to communicate from the very first possession, you cannot sit in the paint against us because we will hit a three from the outside. It happened to go in. That was very fortunate for them. This is symbolic of what Nebraska was trying to do the entire game. Who is bringing the ball up right now? Why are they bringing the ball up? Mast is bringing the ball up to communicate, Zach Edey, you cannot sit next to the rim. They had Mast bring up the ball several times because of this. The moment Zach Edey goes to help down on that dribble handoff, Mast pops out, communicating again, Zach, you cannot sit in the paint. We will shoot it over you. And then, because of this simple play, the simple concept that Zach Edey has to respect 51 as a shooter allows for Nebraska to have so many more opportunities. Nebraska runs this high, kind of like ball screen, like Mast definitely gets a piece of him, getting a shooter going downhill. They run this very, very well, and because Edey has to stay close, there's nobody at the rim. A very high-level pass right past him for a wide open layup. And then another thing is Purdue sometimes got caught in rotation, whether intentionally or not, and Nebraska would try and target this every single time. What do they try and do here? They try and make it so Zach Edey is involved in the ball screen with the guard going downhill. Zach Edey's a great rim protector. You put him on the move, that's where mistakes happen. And then not only that, but when Nebraska would go into pick and rolls, because Purdue did not want to allow any kind of space, any kind of separation, they sometimes resorted to switching this. I promise you, this is not their game plan going into this game, but they felt like they needed to switch to prevent open looks. So what happens is he separates, he realizes it's a mismatch, and he takes advantage of it. He shoots over the top because Zach Edey has to worry so much about the drive. And finally, not only did the presence of a shooting big affect Zach Edey, it also affected Purdue as a whole. Because Purdue, on this ball screen, what are they worried about? They're worried about 51 popping. That means 0 has to take a step just to shade, just to help. If they don't want the switch because 55's got to get back, so then Edey can get back. And what does that mean? That means that the person 0 was guarding, Juwan Gary down here, is now open for a little bit. He cuts the rim, and another good, clean look because of the shooting big for Nebraska. In conclusion, I thought Nebraska played an absolutely wonderful game. They shot the ball very well, and frankly, that shooting isn't going to exist forever. However, what they did do is they laid a template for future Purdue opponents that I am super curious if they will mirror that to take away Zach Edey's dominance and potentially make the rest of Purdue carry the load that I think Zach Edey has been carrying pretty heavily so far. If you enjoyed this, feel free to like and subscribe, and have a great rest of your day.